What happens when a Hollywood powerhouse steps onto a morning show stage, expecting light banter, only to face a host who digs too deep into the shadows he's long buried? In that electric moment, the line between entertainment and invasion blurs, leaving everyone wondering, how far is too far? The studio buzzed with the familiar hum of pre-show energy, lights casting a warm golden glow over the curved couch set against a backdrop of oversized screens flashing cheerful graphics. Coffee mugs steamed on the side tables, their handles emblazoned with the show's logo, while the audience, a mix of eager fans and colorful sweaters, shifted in their seats, phones at the ready. Camera, wide shot, panning from the glowing tally lights to the control booth where producers nodded behind glass. The air smelled faintly of fresh pastries from the green room, a deceptive calm before the live feed kicked in. Mark Wahlberg entered from stage left, his stride confident yet measured, dressed in a crisp navy button-down that hugged his athletic frame, paired with dark jeans and polished boots. His smile flashed white under the spotlights, but his eyes, sharp, scanning the room like a fighter assessing the ring, held a flicker of wariness, as if a fuse had been lit somewhere deep inside, hidden behind the polished veneer of celebrity poise. He nodded to the applauding crowd, a micro-gesture of acknowledgement, but his jaw tightened just enough to hint at the storm brewing beneath. Allison Hammond beamed from her host's chair, her laughter already infectious as she extended a hand. "Mark, darling, welcome to the show! You've got that whole action hero vibe going on. Tell us, what's the secret to staying so fit after all these blockbusters?" Mark settled onto the couch, crossing one leg over the other with casual ease. "Well, Allison, it's all about discipline, early mornings, clean eating, and never skipping the gym. But honestly, it's the family that keeps me grounded." His voice was steady, warm even, but there was an edge, like steel wrapped in velvet, marking the boundary. This was public territory, not personal. The conversation flowed lightly at first, touching on his latest film, a high-octane thriller where he played a rogue agent fighting corruption. Allison leaned in, her eyes sparkling with that signature charm. "Sounds intense. But Mark, with a career like yours, from music to movies, how do you balance the spotlight with, say, protecting your kids from it all?" He paused, his smile holding, but his fingers drummed subtly on his knee. "Family's off limits for good reason, Allison. They didn't sign up for this life." The moral line was drawn, privacy versus the platform's hunger for more. But Allison wasn't one to back down, and what she asked next would crack the facade wide open. The audience murmured appreciatively as clips from the movie rolled on the screens, explosions and chases filling the studio with booming sound. Thunderous bass, fading to applause. Allison clapped along, then pivoted smoothly. "Brilliant stuff. Now, speaking of family grounding you, rumors have swirled about your past, those wild younger days. How do you reckon with that now, as a dad?" Mark's expression shifted, the warmth cooling. "I've owned my mistakes, moved on. That's ancient history." His tone was firm, a quiet assertion of dignity, but Allison pressed on, her charisma masking the probe. "Come on, love, our viewers adored the real you. Share a bit. Did those experiences make you the man you are?" In the control booth, producers exchanged glances, one whispering into a headset. "Tally light blinks red." The secondary host, a young co-presenter named Jamie, interjected lightly. "Allison's got a point, Mark. It's inspiring." But Mark's eyes narrowed, vulnerability flashing before fierceness took hold. "Inspiring? Or just good for ratings? I've built a life beyond the headlines." The audience shifted, a few gasps rippling through, phones lifting to capture the moment. Tension thickened the air, the once cozy set now feeling like a pressure cooker. Allison laughed it off, but her eyes gleamed with opportunity. "Oh, we're all about real talk here. Let's dive deeper. What about that old beef with certain co-stars? Fans are dying to know if it's water under the bridge." Mark leaned forward, his voice dropping to a measured growl. "Allison, respect goes both ways. I'm here to promote a film, not dissect my life." The subtext hung heavy. This was the cost of spectacle, turning human stories into fodder. Jamie tried to defuse. Maybe we can chat about the stunts instead? But the audience's murmurs grew, a mix of excitement and unease, amplifying the brewing storm. Little did they know, Mark's next words would ignite the fuse completely. As the segment pushed on, Allison circled back, her motivation clear, ratings gold in a viral moment. Mark, seriously, your journey from Boston streets to Hollywood A-list is legendary. But that pardon you sought years ago, does it still haunt you? The question landed like a punch, personal and pointed. Mark's face hardened, the layered man emerging, fierce protector beneath the star. Haunt me? No. But questions like this? They remind me why I guard my privacy so fiercely. His values shone through, dignity under pressure, the refusal to let optics erode his core. The audience reacted, applause mixing with whispers, some cheering Allison's boldness, others sensing the overstep. Producers fidgeted in the booth, one mouthing, "Cut to commercial?" But Allison doubled down. "Our audience connects with vulnerability, Mark. Share one story from back then, for the fans." Jamie nodded awkwardly, caught in the crossfire. Mark's breath steadied, but his eyes burned. Vulnerability isn't spectacle. It's not for sale. The ideological clash peaked, truth versus the platform's insatiable appetite. Phones buzzed in the crowd, lip tweeting the exchange, tension coiling tighter. Allison smiled undeterred. "All right, tough guy, what if we talk family values? Your wife, Rhea, how does she handle the rumors?" That crossed the line, personal attack veiled as curiosity. Mark's posture stiffened, the room freezing in anticipation. And in that split second, he decided enough was enough. The studio lights seemed harsher now, casting long shadows across the set as the audience held its collective breath. Mark's mind raced, flashbacks to paparazzi hounding his kids, headlines twisting his words. He wasn't a caricature, he was a man with limits. "Allison, you've got charm, but this? This is why people lose trust in shows like yours." His voice rose, layered with emotion, vulnerable hurt fueling fierce resolve. Jamie stammered, "Let's keep it light, folks." But the producers signaled frantically from behind the glass. Allison leaned back, feigning surprise. "Whoa, Mark, no offense. It's just chat." But her eyes betrayed the thrill of the chase, personal grudge or bias. No, just the grind for views. The audience erupted in a mix of boos and cheers, energy surging like a wave. Mark stood slowly, his height commanding the space, ripping the mic from his collar with a deliberate tug. Mic thump, feedback squeal. "I'm done here. Respect isn't optional." The room froze, cameras whirring, tally lights blinking wildly. Allison's face paled beneath her makeup, Jamie's mouth agape. Producers burst from the booth, but it was too late. Mark turned toward the exit, the audience's gasps echoing, phones capturing every frame. This was the decisive action, the stand for dignity that would ripple far beyond the studio walls. But as he reached the door, Allison's final plea would change everything, or shatter it. The studio door swung shut behind Mark Wahlberg with a resounding thud, but Allison Hammond's voice cut through the chaos, amplified by the still hot mics. "Mark, wait, please, let's talk this out off air." Her plea hung in the air, laced with a mix of desperation and showbiz savvy, as if salvaging the segment could rewrite the script. Camera, quick pan to Allison's face, eyes wide with feigned remorse. But Mark paused only for a heartbeat, glancing back with a look that said volumes. Dignity won this round, before vanishing into the wings. The audience erupted, a cacophony of shocked whispers and scattered applause, while producers scrambled like ants on a disturbed hill. In the control booth, the director barked orders. "Cut to commercial! Now!" Jarring music sting, fading to sponsor jingle. Allison slumped in her chair, her charismatic facade cracking as Jamie, the co-host, patted her shoulder awkwardly. "That escalated," he muttered, his voice barely audible over the buzzing crowd. Phones lit up like fireflies, capturing the aftermath, tweets already flying. "Did Mark just walk out on Allison? #morning show drama." The immediate fallout hit like a digital tsunami, the clip rocketing across social feeds within minutes, Hashtags trending, respect Mark, Allison oversteps. Backstage, Mark paced the green room, his boots thudding against the carpeted floor. His phone vibrated incessantly. Text from his agent, his wife Rhea. "You okay?" Saw the clip already. He sank into a chair, rubbing his temples, the vulnerability surfacing now that the cameras were off. "What a mess," he whispered to himself. The cost of spectacle weighed heavy. He'd come to promote a film, not bare his soul. But in standing firm, he'd reclaimed his narrative, a quiet act of defiance against the machine that chewed up privacy for clicks. Yet as the world reacted, the real storm was just brewing online. The show resumed post-commercial, Allison composing herself with a practiced smile. "Well, folks, that was unexpected. Mark's a legend, and we wish him all the best." Her tone shifted to damage control, but the subtext screamed ratings boost. Jamie chimed in. "Absolutely. Let's move on to our next guest." The audience clapped obligingly, though murmurs lingered, a few boos slicing through. In the producer's office, the team huddled around screens, watching the viewership spike. "This is gold," one said, grinning. "Viral gold." But Allison's eyes betrayed a flicker of regret, or was it calculation? Her motivation, a blend of personal ambition and the grind for relevance, had pushed too far. Meanwhile, on social media, the fallout exploded. Clips of the exchange amassed millions of views, comments pouring in like rain. "Mark's right. Leave his family alone." Hashtag privacy matters. One user posted, garnering thousands of likes. Counterarguments flared. "Allison's just doing her job. Celebs sign up for this." Debates raged in threads, influencers weighing in with hot takes. A popular podcaster tweeted, "This is the cost of fame, optics over everything." But kudos to Mark for drawing the line. Public reaction split the internet, amplifying the moral clash, dignity under pressure versus the spectacle's insatiable hunger. Mark's phone rang. It was his publicist. "Boss, this could go either way, hero or diva. We need a statement." He nodded to himself, crafting a measured response in his mind, something about respect, boundaries, the human side of stardom. As he typed it out, flashbacks hit, paparazzi swarms, twisted headlines from his youth. This wasn't just about one interview. It was a stand for every public figure eroded by the platform's glare. But when Allison issued her own apology, the tide began to turn in unexpected ways. Hours later, as the sun dipped low over the city, Allison sat in her dressing room, scrolling through the backlash. Her producer knocked. "Allison, love, the network wants you to address it online." She sighed, the weight of her charisma now a burden. "Fine. Let's make it real." Tapping out a post. "To Mark and our viewers, sorry if I overstepped. It's all about the chat, but respect comes first. Lesson learned." Red heart. It went live, likes trickling in at first, then flooding as supporters rallied. "Classy move, Allison." But critics pounced. "Too little, too late. Stop probing for drama." In a quiet cafe across town, Mark met with Rhea, their hands intertwined over coffee. "You did the right thing," she said softly, her voice a bomb. "Family first, always." He nodded, the fierceness softening to vulnerability. "Yeah, but the fallout, kids might see this." They discussed the broader lesson, how spectacle devours dignity, turning lives into content. Mark's decisive action had sparked a conversation, reminding the world that stars were people, not props. Social media continued to churn, memes circulating, Mark's mic drop photoshopped into epic scenes, Allison's plea remixed into comedy skits. News outlets picked it up. Wahlberg's walkout, a wake-up call for morning TV? Analysts debated the ethics, one commentator noting, "This highlights the tension between truth and optics. Hosts push for authenticity, but at what cost?" Public figures chimed in. A fellow actor tweeted solidarity. "Been there, Mark. Privacy isn't negotiable." The reaction grew multifaceted, forums dissecting every glance, every word. As night fell, a surprise twist from an unlikely source would force both sides to reflect deeper. The next morning, The show opened with Allison addressing the elephant in the room head on. Camera, close up on Allison, sincere under the lights. Yesterday got heated, and I've reflected a lot. Mark, if you're watching, genuine apologies. We all deserve boundaries. The audience applauded warmly, Jamie adding, spot on. Moving forward with more respect. Viewership held steady, the controversy paradoxically boosting loyalty. In the control booth, producers high-fived. Crisis averted. Mark, at home with his family, watched the clip on his phone. A small smile crept in, not triumph, but catharsis. He'd protected his values, emerging stronger. Later, he posted his own statement. Appreciate the outreach. Let's all remember, behind the fame, we're human. Respect builds bridges. Likes poured in, the moral resonating, dignity under pressure as a universal truth. The fallout settled into lessons learned, the spectacle's cost laid bare for all to see. Allison toned down her probing in future interviews, earning praise for growth. Mark's film saw a bump in buzz, the walkout humanizing him further. Social discourse shifted slightly, calls for ethical journalism gaining traction. In the end, the clash illuminated the fragile balance. Platforms thrive on stories, but stories belong to people. Who was right in the heat of the moment, Mark for standing his ground, or Allison for chasing the real? Tell us below. And with that, the story closed, but the conversation? It was just beginning.